Hey YouTube, on top of Willpower Cup, which I covered this morning, it is also Ultra League. Now, I don't want to just do top teams because, as people mentioned, you'll use the same teams every time. Correct, because not a lot of people play Ultra League, so I just use the same teams. However, the meta has shifted because we just had a community day, and Primeape has jumped to number 3, and Annihilape has jumped to 25. So these two will shake up this meta. So I'm going to go over these Pokemon, why use one or the other. Can you use both? Yes, you could theoretically use Primeape and Annihilape in the back. So why is Primeape ranked number 3? Is it actually better than Annihilape? What's the strengths of one versus the other? So the main Primeape is now number 3. The main strength or weakness, depending from your perspective, how many XL candies did you get? How much dust do you have? This is a level 50 Pokemon. Level 50, rank 1, 7, 15, 15 for a CP of 2493. So if you have, right off the bat, 296 XL candies, which potentially community days are usually generally good at getting you them. So if you did grind community day, you may have this. But again, the IVs is kind of unique, 7, 15, 15, right? It's not like the Great League where you're looking at like a 0-1 attack, or Master League, which is a hundo. It's kind of like this weird in between 7 attack, 15, 15 for level 50. Still a glass cannon, all the same traits that it has in the Great League, it has in the Ultra League. But I already talked about how this moveset is very strong. I would suggest if you are going to be using this Pokemon in the Ultra League, go check out my Great League video from yesterday morning, Beyond the Hype of this Pokemon. I kind of go over how I would use this Pokemon in the Great League. I think it changes a little bit in the Ultra League, just based on how bulky stuff is. And then again, typing same old, everything is the same as the Great League. Suggested teammates in the Ultra League. Feraligatr, Drapion, Drifblim, Cresselia, Licky. So there's a couple things here. I mentioned in this morning's video that I suggest pairing this with a bulky, one if not two bulky Pokemon. So Licky, Cresselia fit that bill. From the same time, you are going to be weak to Flying, and you're going to be weak to Fairy. So Drifblim, Drapion, and Feraligatr are basically, they don't all handle those weaknesses, but they're all kind of just like general specialists that kind of hit pretty hard against a lot of stuff, right? Feraligatr with Shadow Claw, Hydro Cannon, Ice Beam, Drapion with your super spammy Poison Sting, Aqua Tail Crunch, and then Drifblim, very hard hitting Astonish, Icy Wind coverage, and then Shadow Ball, just kind of like a really, really hard hitting move. So if I'm going to build, we will build after. Maybe I'd probably go like Licky or Cress. Maybe not Cress because that makes you double weak to Ghost. No, wait, that's not true. Because you're not Annihilape. That would be Annihilape. So yeah, you can use Licky or Cress. We'll team build with those in a second. So why do I think it's ranked so high? The first thing, much like this morning, is the list of fighters in this meta is not a ton. Now, there are more in this meta than Great League. Great League, you're just kind of relying on Pangoro and Machamp. In this league, you do have Cobalion and Virizion that have Double Kick and Sacred Sword. So you kind of already did have some fighters. Now, obviously, having a very, very quick loading close combat is going to do a lot more than these Sacred Swords. So just being able to get to those close combats super fast are going to be fantastic. Now, that's its first strength. The second strength is the meta. And you have Ghost has always been pretty good in this meta with Rage Fist because of Giratina. Giratina as this number 6 ranked Pokemon has always been, I think number 6 is probably the lowest Giratina has ever been ranked in the Ultra League. So I think that with Giratina everywhere, Cresselia is always everywhere. Having that Shadow Claw is huge. Sorry, not Shadow Claw. The Rage Fist is huge as a Ghost move. And Registeel, same thing. Down to number 8. It was the number 1 ranked Pokemon for years and years. Still used a lot in the Ultra League. Having a close combat for that is huge. And like Cobalion, Steelix, Regirock, there's a lot of things that are Licky, your normal type safe swaps. There's a lot of things that it does well against with its movesets. Now, I haven't looked at the Sims yet, so we're going to do this together. My 15-15 record. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff that's going to resist your movesets. Venusaur, Nidoqueen, not as meta. Malamar, Weezing, Cresselia, Clefable, definitely more meta. Dragonite as your flyer meta. Tentacruel meta. Golurka, and then Giratina, even though you have the Rage Fist, you still lose here. So what you're going to see here is some of these losses are just like your weaknesses. Fairy, Psychic, stuff like that. Poison, you're going to have trouble because your fighting moves are resisted. And some, even though you can hit super effective, like I guess with your fighting resisted, it makes sense that you're losing to the other Pokemon too. And then you pick up stuff that's weak to fighting. A lot of stuff weak to fighting, and then stuff where close combat in a neutral situation will one-shot. Now the question is, does it one-shot without a bait? And this is what I want to check. So this is when you dominate Rage Fist and then close combat. That's not surprising. Now, if you just go close combat, can you win? Yes. So even if in these matchups against like Ampharos, if you don't want to bait, you can just go close combat. I imagine you outpace Typhlosion as well here with the close combats. Although they may bait as well. So if I put this on, they may bait Thunder Punch and then land no, you still win going close combat, right? So in a lot of these matchups that you win here, I don't even think it's worth baiting. The Brutal Swing gets to it so quickly. Now the question is your very, very bulky Pokemon that are not weak to fighting, like Virizion. I gotta imagine Virizion is gonna live one close combat. And here's the thing: Rage Fist boost, Rage Fist that they shield, and then a close combat to do 73%. But that's a double boosted. So if you take off that double boost, I know this isn't exactly how the matchup would play out, but down to 49%, and that is not insignificant. And this is one thing about this Pokemon that I kind of talked about in the analysis the other day. Rage Fist is a good move in the fact that it boosts your attack, but it is a good move in the fact that it is a nice bait move that even if you have to go like 2 or 3 and go like double shielding and stuff like that, you can ramp up really quick with this move. However, one of its strengths is being able to bait and then land the close combat. If you rely on that and then they do shield properly, I think it puts you in a pretty tricky situation, because this is a perfect example. Just going straight close combat only does 49%, 80 damage. But then when you put on the Rage Fist and you get the couple baits, then that 49% becomes 73%. So the damage that you're doing is significantly more when you boost that attack. So overall, in the Great League, my analysis was, I think it's a fantastic Pokemon. I think it has a great, that's my video this morning because I just do these back to back. I think it's a great Pokemon. I think it's a top fighting Pokemon now. Rage Fist is a very good move overall. There will be some bait dependencies in some of the matchups, but overall, definitely one worth using. Now, will you just see hard punishes like I saw on stream yesterday? So I started with the team of Primeape, and scrapped it after 2 sets because they were just like straight Primeape hunting teams. So I think you will see some answers to it, but the thing is, like, you don't even need to like go outside of the Ultra League regular team building to get there. So in the Great League, like this morning, I saw a lot more Clefables. Like, I haven't seen a Clefable all freaking season, but I saw like multiple Clefables in the Great League hunting. I saw double charm teams, double fairy teams hunting Primeape. So that is a direct example of like people going out of their way to hunt a specific Pokemon. Now, I don't think you need to go out of your way to hunt this Pokemon, because I think there's a lot of Pokemon that are good enough to take this thing out that you would use normally. Like Clefable, Giratina, Weezing, Drapion's going to be close. Like, there are a lot of Pokemon, Cresselia. There are a ton of Pokemon in the top 20 that you would team build with normally to do that. So this is why in the Great League, it kind of like, it makes sense. You have a lot of good matchups. There wasn't a lot of flying. There wasn't a lot of fairy. There is now, but when the meta stabilizes, there won't be a ton of those. So I think it's worth that like top 2 ranking. Maybe not 2, but I think it's like a top 5 Pokemon. Is this the number 3 Pokemon in this league? I don't know. I don't think so, because I think there's a lot of just like good meta Pokemon that beat this thing anyways. So I don't think you're going to have to like, I'm going to hunt Primeape with 3 answers. It's kind of like, I'm going to team build how I normally team build, and I bet you 2 of my Pokemon still answer this anyways. So just keep that in mind if you're going to use this Pokemon. Annihilape. So Annihilape does not require XLs. So that is the first pro. With that, you're only level 26 compared to a level 50, right? So a little trade-off there. Same moveset. The strength is Rage Fist actually gets same type attack bonus. So where this only does 50 damage on Primeape, you do 60 here. Of course, the difference is with Karate Chop, you get to these moves super fast. It only takes 5 Karate Chops at a 2-turn move to get to close combat, which is 10 energies worth. Whereas now with Annihilape, 8 to get to the first one. So that is 16. So much, much slower. Obviously, counter damage is harder, hits harder. And then the ghost typing, I don't know whether you want to see the ghost typing as a plus or minus. You pick up a couple weaknesses, you neutralize some stuff, you pick up some resistances, like the normal typing and stuff like that. Fighting, you double resist now. So there's a lot of stuff that you're picking up for the resistances that you otherwise not get. So I do think that Annihilape is going to be a good Pokemon as well. I think I think the reason it's not ranked as high is because in the Sims, this is where you need to think about the Sims versus in practice. In the Sims, there's going to be a lot of like, I can just like close combat multiple times, or I can like Rage Fist boost a bunch of times and then close combat. Whereas this, you're really only going to be getting to the close combat like once, maybe twice, but you're doing so much more with the counter damage that like boosting a Rage Fist with that hard-hitting counter could be more of a viable option, and it's not as viable on Primeape. So I think they play differently too. So again, I got to believe that the team building is probably the same. Yeah, for Alligator, Licky, Drapion, Driftwing, Tentacruel, not much different. Get your stuff in there that will poisons, that will resist fairy, and then the Licky as a bulk, and then just your other typings to kind of deal with just this all-around kind of specialist there that they are. So I think Annihilape is going to be strong as well. Maybe I'll test both of them out. Maybe I'll just bring out my Armored Mewtwo. I usually bring out Armored Mewtwo once per season. And with Primeape and Annihilape out there, this seems like a perfect time to bring out my Mewtwo. But yeah, those are the 2 Pokemon in the Ultra League and their strengths and weaknesses. And we'll see how they go. Like I said, I don't think you need to like build to beat them. I think people are going to test it, right? Whenever you see a new fighter in the top 3, it's definitely one you want to test out. But I don't think you need to go out of your way to like build against it, because I think if you build properly, you should be okay. Now, I probably wouldn't be building a team of like double steel anytime soon, because I think you're going to have trouble. But yeah, I think there's enough out there to beat these Pokemon. So like I said, we will showcase some Ultra League teams. I know in my submissions, link in the description, that some people have submitted Ultra League teams. So I will showcase some of those that are already in the submissions. But if you want to submit a Willpower team or an Ultra League team, the link is in the description. I usually look for about 10 battles, mix of wins and losses, so I can showcase that. So that is it. Let me know which league you are playing. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.